Hey guys, and welcome to this module on 3D and materials. Okay, so we'll be learning how to use the 3D effects and materials in Adobe Illustrator. So in order to apply the 3D effect, you just need to select your shape, okay, and come to effects, and then go to 3D and materials, and then choose one of these. Okay, so maybe you could choose extrude and bevel, and then immediately this 3D panel comes up. Okay, let me just cancel this and delete. Okay, and draw another shape. Now, apart from coming here, we can immediately come to the Windows panel, to the Windows menu, and then come to the 3D and materials panel here and just activate it. Okay, and then it's going to pop up. Okay, so you don't have to always come here. You can just come to Windows and activate the panel and then when you select your object, you then click on the one you want. Okay, now this is the extrude, which was the one we used the other time. Okay, if we undo, we also have this guy, which is called the plane. Okay, and we are going to look at all of this in details. Okay, let me just choose this guy and show you one other thing. Now, when I select it, or when I apply the 3D extrude effect, and I come to this panel here, which is the appearance panel, come to the appearance panel, you then see that your effect is now visible here. Okay, so from here you can disable your effect, you can enable your effect, you can delete your effect, you can duplicate it, you can do a whole lot of things. Okay, so the effects you apply to your shapes, effects that affect the appearance of your shape, will all be here. Okay, so you can see stroke, you can see fill color, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in order to edit it, you can just double click again. You can just click once and the panel will now open. Okay, so these are the types of 3D effects we have. Okay, we have the plane effect, which basically turns your selected object into a 3D plane. Okay, and then we have the extrude panel, which extrudes your 3D shape, or rather your selected shape, or for your selected shape. Okay, so that's what this guy does. And then this other one, revolve, it kinds of revolves the shape, and we are going to look at examples. And this other one called the inflate, it just inflates it like a balloon, as you can see here. So let me select this guy now and add the plane and add the plane 3D effect. Now we can see that it has no thickness, it's just a plane. Okay, just a 3D plane, and this is suitable when we want to add images or symbols on our 3D object, and we are going to look at examples very soon, just for you to know. So this just acts like a plane, doesn't have any thickness. Okay, you can only rotate it, so you can rotate it here. Okay, and then it has other options which we are definitely going to look at. Now for this guy, when I extrude, we can see that immediately an extrusion is created, and then we can of course do our edits. Okay, then for this guy, let me just increase the size of my artboard. Okay, so I can space them out properly. Now for this shape, when I revolve, we can see what happens. Okay, it then turns it to what one could say looks like a donut, right? Yeah, so it revolves it. Okay, and you might not fully understand how this guy works, but when I create an example with something like this, okay, I'm just drawing out a shape now. Okay, I just want to explain the revolve effect properly for you. Okay, so let's see, we want to add the revolve effect on this guy. Okay, so that we understand how this effect works very much. So select the shape, and then click on revolve. Okay, now we see what happens. It revolves it around the path. Okay, so this one serves as a path. So if you come here to offset direction from, okay, just the drop down menu and then select right edge. So what do you now see? It now turns it into what looks like a container, right? So now you can see the similarity between the shape here as it's highlighted. Okay, that's the profile of the shape, and then this guy. So basically uses this our symbol here or our shape here as a profile for the revolving effect. Okay, so that's how this revolve effect works. And then for the inflate, it just inflates it like a balloon, like I said before. So when I click on inflate, you take some time, and then we can see that it has inflated our shape to look like a balloon. Okay, perfect. Now let's go through each and every option. Now for this guy, now we have the 3D plane, right? The options we have here are the rotation options. When you come here, we can see that we can rotate it to face the front. Okay, so we can see it's facing the front. It can face the back. Okay, can face the left. Okay, we won't see this one now since it's a plane, right? But it's facing the left. Can face the right. Can face the top. And of course, we won't see this one too because it's a plane. It doesn't have a thickness. Okay, and then now we have these other ones, which will give us looks like this, okay, looks like this, okay, and we can actually rotate them using these sliders here. And apart from this, we can use these gizmos here to kind of rotate, to kind of create custom rotations based on what we want. Okay, as you can see, this is using these gizmos to create rotations, custom rotations. So when you highlight the gizmos, you will then be able to select and then rotate. Okay, so for this other guy, we have more options. Okay, we have the rotation options, which are completely the same as the ones here, and we have even more. So if we just close this rotation option here, we can see that first of all we have depth. Okay, so depth controls the depth of our extrusion. As you can see, as I adjust the depth slider, the depth of our extrusion is being adjusted. Okay, then we have this guy, which is called the cap. Right now, it enables us to open the cap or just leave it closed. So currently it's closed, and then if we click here, we'll then be able to see that it's now open. Now we can see through our shape. Okay, but we want it closed. And then for this other option, it's called the bevel effect. So when we click on bevel, we then see what happens, right? It puts a profile on our shape. Okay, now we have different types of bevel effects. We have the classic, we have the round, and then we have the convex. Okay, convex, and then we have the step also, depending on what you want, like I said. Okay, so it's basically what you want to design that will drive you to using one of these. Okay, and then we have the classic outline, we have the round outline, then we have the square outline. Okay, and let me just choose let me choose the convex. Let me start with the convex, and when you choose any of the profiles here, you see that we now have what we call the width. Okay, and this will edit how sharp or how wide the profile here is. Okay, as you can see, as I'm taking it towards 100, it's becoming thinner. Then as I drag it towards 0, it's becoming wider, right? And then we have the height, which does what it does. As you can see, it edits the height, it adjusts the height to be longer. okay, or shorter when I reduce it. Perfect. Then we have what we call the copies. So we have what we call, I think I duplicated this. Just delete this one. Then we have what we call the copies, which duplicates the profile, the bevel profile, right? So we can now have two of them, okay? And then we have this other slider, which controls the spacing between them, okay? Perfect. You can create complex designs with this. You can even have 3, you can have 4, you can have as much as you want. Just type in the amount you want, and then you're going to have them, okay? Perfect. Then of course we have the spacing like I said before. Good. Then we have this option bevel inside, okay, so it bevels it inside. And then we have reset, which will bring everything back to the original. Okay, so that's it for bevel. You can use this button here to kind of remove the bevel or activate it, okay, depending on what you want. And now let's talk about the revolve options, right? Revolve options. Now the options we have here are the rotation, which are similar to the ones we looked at here and here, okay. Then we have this guy also that says cap, so we can see through it, but since the rotation does not allow us to see through it, you won't see what's happening. So we have this guy, okay, which is the direction of the offset. Okay, now we have it at right, that's why we have this design. When we have it at left, we'll have something different. We'll have the direct opposite of the profile, okay. Perfect. So let's just keep it at right, and then come to offset, and you can see that offset controls the offset, right? Yeah. Then we have the revolve angle. So we can see that with this, we can cut our shape and we can complete our shape, okay? The revolve angle. So you just leave it at 360 for a complete revolving. And for the last one, which is the inflate, we have just the depth and the volume, then the cap, and finally the rotation. Okay, so the depth, the volume, the cap, then the rotation. So just go around and see what you can come up with. That of course after we are done, because we're not done yet. Okay, so you can come up with a whole lot of beautiful designs with just tweaking just the object options. Okay, now the next thing we'll then be looking at is the materials options here. As you can see, we are presently on objects, right? We have the materials here, then we have the lighting. Okay, so we can edit the materials, we can edit lighting, and we can even render. Okay, so these are the render settings. We can activate render settings here. We can activate retrace or ray tracing rather, and then we can render. We can choose the quality of the rendering. We can even edit our raster settings. All right, remember we spoke about raster settings the other time. Okay, so we can change this to a higher resolution for a better rendering. Now, for the materials, we can see that we have materials here. We have all materials, right? We have different materials. We have the base material, which is the default one, which is the one apparently activated on the ship, right? And this is the default material, and you can apply colors to these materials, right? To this material, to the default one. So we have other materials, okay? Now these are Adobe materials. They are Adobe materials derived from Adobe's Substance library. Okay, those who are conversant with Substance Painter will be conversant with these materials. Okay, so these are just Substance materials. So you can actually add custom materials. Okay, so you can see the file format accepted is SBSAR. Okay, so this is the native file format for Substance materials. Okay, there are a whole lot of materials. You just go through this on your own. We are not going to go through each and every one of them. You can just go through them on your own. But just for a few, let me just apply this guy. which looks like a brick wall, right? So applying the materials can require a bit of system performance. Okay, so you have to have a good system to be able to run this. Now you can see how it looks here. Doesn't look good for me. You can use this guy. Okay. So this is what we have with this material. So like I said, it all depends on what you want to achieve, right? It all depends on what you want to achieve. So we're not going to dive into these materials for now. Okay. Now we have other options here, other material options here, okay, which enable us edit our materials. So we have materials properties, we have roughness, we have the metallic. So the roughness kind of affects the way light interacts with our object, okay? So uh, it could either be shiny, we could make it shiny by kind of uh, taking it down, or make it more dull, or kind of more normal, okay, if that makes sense, by dragging it towards one. And then we have the metallic, which is very self-explanatory. This will make it look more metallic, as you can see. This is even before I render, okay, even before I render. Okay, so that's what they do, okay. And then let me select a wood to see if, okay, a custom material to see if we are going to get extra options, right? We are definitely going to get extra options with custom materials. Good. So as you can see, we now have a custom material applied, and we now have extra options. We have custom textures applied, and we have extra options. Like this one now is the resolution, so we can change it from 1K to 2K. And of course, the higher the resolution, the more taxing the work will be on your computer, right? And we have the brick color. Sorry, my system has been working for a very long time, so it's kind of responding not too well to load. Okay, so for this guy, we change the resolution. Okay, we have 1K, we have 2K, we have these other ones. So we can change the color of the brick here. Click here and then change the color of the brick, and it might take some time to load. Okay, and let me just change this guy to 1K, so it's less tasking on my computer. And we have other options depending on what materials you choose. Okay, now remember, this guy is a brick material, that's why we have these options related to brick, right? We have all these other material, all these other options to just help us edit our material properly. Now we have these other ones here, which will help us with the scaling, with the rotation, with the density. Okay, so when I increase the density, you can see that it's editing the UV mapping, the kind of UV mapping, okay, or how the material appears on our object, okay, the scale of the material on our object. And then we have many other options here, which I want you to just go and check out on your own. I'm not going to go through all these options. So we should just choose our default material and continue other things. Now, coming to lighting, we have different presets for lighting. We have the standard lighting, we have the diffuse lighting, we have the top left lighting, here we have the top right lighting, and all these are all self-explanatory. Plus, you can see how they affect our shape here. Then we have the color of the light. You want a white light, you want kind of a red light, okay. You want, and then the intensity of the light, and then the rotation of the light. You see what we get as we adjust this stuff. And then we have the height of the light, from our object, right? Then we have the softness, then we have the ambient intensity. Now, the ambient intensity. Good. Then we can activate shadows. Okay, you can deactivate shadows. I'm not going to activate shadows for this one. And then finally, we have the render settings, right? Now, there's the render settings. We can just come here and then activate ray tracing, and then come and choose the render quality. We can make it low, medium, or high. Then activate reduce noise. Let's try medium and then just click render. And it's going to take some time to render. And as you can see, we now have our rendered image. Okay, we now have our rendered image. Now we can use this in our graphics. Okay, we can use this in our graphic design and other works in Adobe Illustrator. Let's try to render this one also. And when you just come here and click here, it's going to render it with the lowest settings. Okay, it's going to render it with the lowest settings automatically. So if you want to render with the high settings, you have to come here and then select the high settings. Okay, activate ray tracing, select the high settings, and then render. But of course, you have to also know that selecting higher settings will also require higher system performance. And now we have a better and even cleaner render, right? As you can see, we don't have much noise on our render. We don't have any noise on our render, unlike this one, which we have a lot of noise, right? So that's it about it. With this, we've come to the end of our video on the 3D and materials panel. And in the next lecture, we'll start creating really cool stuff. Okay, we'll start turning our 2D shapes, our 2D objects into 3Ds. Okay, and creating nice designs with them. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.